Hello everybody, thank you for tuning into ChannelBK. My name is Brian. Welcome to another classic album review. This one's a few days late. We had a big storm here in Michigan, so we've had no power. I've been putting out videos all week though on my other channels too. So of course, the 1 week where like every day I had a video to upload on this or my collecting channel or the Warren Rascals, the power had to go out. So we are back, we're better than ever, and I'm excited because now I can finally talk about Godspeed You Black Emperor's second studio album, Lift Your Skinny Fists Like Antennas to Heaven. Godspeed You Black Emperor is a famed and acclaimed post-rock and drone group outfit from Canada. And like I said, this is their second studio album, but it is not the first album of theirs that I listened to. Shockingly enough, my introduction, when I used to do album reviews back in the day, was with their 2015 album, Asunder, Sweet, and Other Distress, which was kind of like a good and bad introduction to the group. Bad, I guess, because I was hearing a lot of things about how, obviously in this transition to the second phase of their career after a long hiatus, they started putting out albums that weren't nearly as beefy and lengthy as their earlier couple albums. And so I went into this album being like, okay, like I've never listened to them, let's see how it is. And again, the good part of it is even though I didn't love the album, I was kind of mixed on it, it definitely made me go, okay, there is stuff to this that I really like. I really enjoyed it. And I went on to listen to a bunch of their other records, mainly sort of their second half of their career, so post-hiatus with their 2012 album, Alleluia, Don't Bend, Ascend, Luciferian Towers, and Godspeed, which was actually just recently. I'm a fan of all those albums, and so for me to then dive back into their discography with some of their more acclaimed albums that they were known for, I was very excited. I was also worried, not because I wasn't going to enjoy it, but because of the lengths. And I guess it was something where when you listen to a Godspeed record, they do a lot when it comes to the instrumentation, and the crescendos, and the falls, and just how they build a song and its structure. And I've listened to long music before, and it wasn't something where, like obviously if I listened to this record when I first got into Godspeed, I'd be like, okay, this is a lot. But over time, as I've listened to more music, I was like, okay, this is whatever. The fact that one half of this album in particular is just as long as basically all of their newer albums is pretty funny to me. And again, it's the undertaking of it. And so I was very excited to see what they started with and progressed to, because again, when you listen to their newer records, even though they do a lot of really interesting things and they were experimenting a lot on those, to go back to where it started, back to 2000, when this sort of album came out, it was fascinating to me to see like what I was gonna get. And yeah, this is basically beefier, bigger Godspeed You Black Emperor. And all four of the movements on here definitely include a lot of the Godspeed normals, you know, again, the huge rock influences, some great strings. I love the way there's some great slowdowns on the album as well. There's also some great audio, like recordings that are spliced throughout the album as well. Again, Godspeed's music is very political, social, but again, in ways where they don't really have singing. It's all instrumental. And this is an album in particular where, just from a song alone, you definitely go through a lot of different emotions and feelings to where you're kind of not knowing what's going on half the time, because again, the way it transitions, and especially this album, I was shocked how, I mean, it definitely, in my opinion, feels as long as it is, but it doesn't necessarily feel like you're sitting there the entire time. It has a nice flow. And the way that each of these movements, which really are a bunch of different songs put together on this one singular track, I think does a good job from each transition, because then you're sort of never bored. It has like a nice flow, like I said, to it. Storm, this is a great way to open the album. I love the lone, haunting guitar that's just down, 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 and then the horns. And I love when they first come in, it sounds very kind of raw. Like, it doesn't sound like perfectly tuned, perfectly pitched. It's kind of like they kind of stumble, and there's just I don't know, it's weird to me. I'm also a trumpet player, so hearing that, or it used to be, I guess, hearing that, it was just so like, oh, there's the humanity in it is great. And I just love it's great. I love the build to it. Again, this first part is like 6 minutes long, and it doesn't feel like that. I love the way the drums start coming in as well. This is a very bright, hopeful spot on the album. It definitely has a lot of great elements to it before it slows back down. And it kind of builds again to like another big rock crescendo. Again, it kind of starts with a lone guitar. There's some strings that get added in, but one term I think I'm going to use a lot is there's kind of like a rock opera sound a lot on this. I guess there's maybe a better way to describe it. The way I think of it is just the way the instrumentations mix and just how big it gets, and it's gorgeous and it's loud and it's just, you know, unhinged. And I really enjoyed that about this song. But then I love the way it transitions to this percussion that is just so great. Again, this song, in a nutshell, to start this album, you're already kind of going through so many different things that sound familiar but are so different. And I just think that this part with the percussion after is just really incredible. And then it obviously slows back down. I love, again, the percussion kind of has a more marching feel to it. And then we get to kind of one of the most dark and like depressing parts on the album. Again, it starts so hopeful and then it ends with this just raw audio sample and just the spaciness and the darkness. It's the cacophonous piano on here and just the twinkle of it where it's like it sounds, again, it sounds untuned. It doesn't come across as like something on the computer or 808s. And this is not even me trying to go into a whole audio, digital, physical, like crap like that. It's just feeling the raw emotion in a band like this is just incredible. Which I think the way that this song ends is a great transition into Static, which is the second piece on this album. It starts very spacey, atmospheric, as I like to say in a lot of my reviews, and then it gets into a drone that, again, I think Godspeed is kind of known as these really great proprietors of the post-rock sound and drone music put together, and I think the drone on this is really interesting and unique, which then transitions into a good chunk of this song having, and it's funny because I just reviewed his album a few months ago, Max Richter, who is a famous composer of many things, and this kind of reminded me of him with the strings and the way the guitars sort of mesh together, but it's in like a menacing way. Like, I'm not, like, Max Richter makes, you know, dark music, bright music, all that. But listening to the song in particular, like, it feels more like a more disturbing version of what he's done. And then that obviously transitions back into a huge rock progression as well, just like the first song. And then it ends in a very dark and just violent way, vulgar way. I don't know. The drums, the song itself starts to like speed up, and then yeah, the ending is just kind of distorted and all over the place. And again, when this album started, and again, you listen to what, you know, the titles of these songs are. Storm, it's like the, you know, before the storm, and then Static is when everything is down. And again, just the way that they're able to convey these emotions is brilliant. Sleep is the third piece on this album, and again, just like Static, it's a great transition, and it starts very dreamy. There's some really great guitar work on here, and then builds back into like a nice set of driving drums. Again, I think all three of these songs so far, the way that they kind of drive and build it back into these crescendos, it's very different and very unique. Sometimes they're a lot more meticulous, sometimes they're a little more simple, and I really appreciate that. And then, for like a couple minutes, the song kind of goes down again, and there's like these bells and these little chimes, and there's some other kind of chords. From what it sounds like, it does sound like something guitar, or a guitar, I guess, something guitar, a guitar. And it kind of leaves you confused, like it seems very like what's happening right now? It gets in your head. And then I think the final few minutes on this song is the first time since the beginning of the album where you get something that is so gorgeous and like uplifting, and it's just, I love the strings. Like, ooh, okay, watch this. Like, Antennas to Heaven is the finishing song on this whole album already. This is the shortest song by, honestly, like 4 or 5 minutes, which is very interesting. Every song on here is like 20 plus minutes. I love the intro to this song a lot. I really, really like the intro to this song a lot. There's like a nice little folky tune that starts it, and again, it's so weird to me, just the way that you can't describe how the songs start and end and how they transition and just the picture that's being painted, but really sitting down and just having that come off of the gorgeous ending that is Sleep. You sort of sit there kind of like, this works, like it fits. And then once again, it has like kind of another spacey little transition to some more huge rock elements. This is the first time where it kind of just shows up and it goes away after a little bit. It's not like drawn out or anything, it just kind of hits you and it's like, and you're like, oh my gosh, holy moly, what is happening? But then this sort of transitions into a little bit of, not slow, but a slower second half. It sounds very sludgy and just kind of like, and it's, I don't want to say the word lazy, but it does come across as kind of like, it's just, like it doesn't, the impact doesn't feel as grand as the other songs, which I think is great. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing. Obviously, it's intentional, but just the sound of it, because the way it transitions into the huge finale, which is just this weird drone. It's like, and it just kind of goes on, and you're like, you're not knowing what's happening, and the album just finishes. By this point, you sit and you're like, oh, an hour and a half has already passed, and the experience that you got, again, like, it's the length of like a movie, and you feel like you get such a great, vivid look into what they're putting out there. And again, it made me really appreciate what they do on their newer albums, or maybe really think like, wow, like this is what they do in this length. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful, it's dark, it's haunting, it makes you think, but again, just like I was bringing up with Max, and obviously just like you get from anyone who's a great composer, again, when you listen to a piece of music that is definitely subjugated to being like, you know, like you go see an orchestra. It's very different than listening to a band that does this sort of sound, and you're kind of sitting there like, you know, what am I supposed to feel? What's going on? All that. But it's done in a great way, and it's beautiful, and it's huge, and it's a fantastic album. And it's a great way to start the 2000s, and I love it. So, if you love this album as much as I do, leave it in the comments below. Like if you liked it, please subscribe, all that usual YouTube jazz. I have more classic reviews. You can check out all the other fun stuff on my channel. But until next time, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for tuning in to Channel BK. Peace out, everyone.